Syria's Assad is in Moscow after deal on military bases, says Russian state media. Reuters. Syria's former president Bashar al-Assad is in Moscow with his family after Russia granted them asylum on humanitarian grounds, a Kremlin source told Russian news agencies on Sunday, and a deal has been done to ensure the safety of Russian military bases. Russia's foreign ministry said earlier that Assad had left Syria and given orders for a peaceful transfer of power, after rebel fighters raced into Damascus unopposed on Sunday, ending nearly 6 decades of his family's iron-fisted. Below are your comments. A few days ago Russia was bombing the rebels, now they say, "We urge all parties involved to refrain from the use of violence and to resolve all issues of governance through political means," its statement said. They suddenly want peace because they couldn't prop up the regime. 00. The Russian Foreign Ministry said Moscow was alarmed by events in Syria. "We urge all parties involved to refrain from the use of violence and to resolve all issues of governance through political means." This is preposterous after Russia assisted Assad by violently bombing rebel. Now that Russia's loss of influence in Syria is lost, Russia is scrambling to make an omelette from it. Syria broke an egg. This foretells Russia's use of violence rather than political means of resolution in Ukraine. Russia cannot be trusted. "We urge all parties involved to refrain from the use of violence and to resolve all issues of governance through political means." So much hypocrisy. Russia has been bombarding Syrians for years. There were no negotiations. Now they urge those they have been so eagerly to refrain from using violence? "We urge all parties involved to refrain from the use of violence and to resolve all issues of governance through political means," its statement said. Open mouth smile, open mouth smile, open mouth smile, open mouth smile. Do really Russia knows what political mean is in a society? The foreign ministry said Moscow was alarmed by events in Syria. "We urge all parties involved to refrain from the use of violence and to resolve all issues of governance through political means, like Moscow is doing in Ukraine." Hard to imagine the new powers in Syria will long tolerate Russian military bases. What goes around comes around. Putin takes power and money one piece at a time. It will stop only when he is gone. How sad that so many people will suffer in the meantime, however. Putin shouldn't count on keeping those bases too long, as once the Islamic government gets established, they'll want all strangers, especially infidels and supporters of Assad, to leave their country and rely as they did in Afghanistan. Please wait a moment. Interesting. How will Russia be able to hold on to these bases when power in a country basically NGED? That is worse deal than Trump usually gets. This story is rich, pretending there's validity from the ruling party to allow the Russian bases to exist after Russia has been bombing the opposition for many years and after Russia granted asylum to Syrian dictator Assad. Who did Russia negotiate base security with, and are they even around anymore? Any agreements with the Assad regime are now gone with the wind. For the moment at least, poor Syria doesn't have a tyrant like Assad or Putin. We should pray for peace in Syria, which has been terribly governed for many decades. Since when did Assad want to transfer power peacefully? This statement has got to be a joke. Russia's foreign ministry said earlier that Assad had left Syria and given orders for a peaceful transfer of power, after rebel fighters raced into Damascus unopposed on Sunday, ending nearly 6 decades of his family's iron-fisted rule. Russia loses again. They went from having the second-rated military and equipment to the 11th-rated military. And what country would want to buy any of the weapons now? Why would the rebels abide by any deals between Assad and Russia? The rebels are in charge now and they are certainly no friends of Russia. It was reported the other day that his family had already set up residence in Russia. Assad lost his country but is probably sitting in a great Russian villa going over all of his Swiss bank accounts where he has stored Syria's wealth that he stole. A deal has been done to ensure the safety of Russian military bases. The UN, Syria and Russia are now the new 3 power brokers of the world. Only a matter of time before Assad falls out of a window. It said Russia's military bases in Syria had been put on a state of high alert, but that there was an serious threat to them at the current time. Hopefully, those Syrian rebels will extract their revenge on the orcs who helped Assad bleep thousands of their fighters in. We urge all parties involved to refrain from the use of violence. They weren't so reticent when were bombing anti-government forces. Can't imagine the rebels willing to let Russia keep bases there for long. The rebels could have ousted Assad years ago if Russia hadn't gotten involved, and it was Russian soldiers and Russian weapons that bleep large numbers of rebel supporters and Syrian civilians. Not sure that the Russians will have any say in what happened to their military bases in Syria. Certainly anything Assad said is not going to carry any weight since he fled the country. Putin has lost any influence he once had in Syria. What exactly does Putin know about humanitarian grounds? The Russians used their bases in Syria to bomb hospitals, schools and marketplaces in support of Assad's war against his own people. Who knows how many thousands of defenseless Syrian civilians the Russians bleeped in these criminal attacks? I can't see the new regime or the Syrian people forgetting that in a hurry. Russia was involved with gassing the Syrian people. The rebels should take those bases with prejudice, no prisoners. I'm sure he still has access to the billions he stole from the country. One can't use the words Assad and humanitarian in the same paragraph. Russia bleep a lot of people in Syria. I don't think the rebels will forget that. At the end of this article, I found this statement interesting. The foreign ministry said Moscow was alarmed by events in Syria. We urge all parties involved to refrain from the use of violence and to resolve all issues of governance through political means, its statement said. The last thing Russia wanted was a peaceful takeover of Almost 3 years ago, Russia conducted an unprovoked attack upon its peaceful neighbor. Russia only wants political solutions when it cannot impose its will on a situation. I hope the Syrians kick Russia out of Syria. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you like it, please thumbs up.